Hello and welcome to another ProjectFalconPunch Top 5 guest list. I am your host Dan, and with me today I have Liam, except this is actually a post-recording, so he's not here right now, as this was part of our bi-weekly podcast that we do called Off the Record over on Liam's Patreon, so please go check it out in the description below. Basically, last month we recorded an episode where we did our top 10 favourite games of 2019, so just like last year and the year before that, I have truncated and slimmed it down into just our top 5, today being obviously Liam's top 5. Next week it'll be my top 5. But on the podcast as well, which was like over an hour and a half long, we also had like our best soundtrack of the year, biggest surprise of the year, and other little categories like that, as well as our most anticipated game of 2020 and our most disappointing game of last year as well. Those will be in separate videos coming up soon. But anyway, enough of my blabberings. I'm pretty sure you know what all this is. So we'll just cut right to the chase and go straight into Liam's top 5. So Liam, take it away.
Yeah, so I guess I'll do my top 5 now.
Mm-hmm.
In at number 5, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh.
If you've listened to this podcast, you know that I initially voiced some concerns about it, but it really did grow on me, honestly. I felt like the storytelling was very solid. It had a cast of characters that I grew to like. I thought it was really good overall. Like, the combat grew on me too. Not perfect, you know, some little technical issues here and there, but the last act of it, I thought it really came together. It was full of memorable moments that felt epic, that felt awesome. It really pleased me as a Star Wars fan. There was some really nice world building in there, some good fan service, but it felt original and new. It didn't break the law too much. It didn't do anything too silly. Unlike certain films. But yeah, it wasn't groundbreaking, I feel like, but I feel like they copied from the best, and the result is something really good. And I would recommend it if you're a Star Wars fan. It is not perfect, but it is definitely the best Star Wars game that I've played in a long time. It's certainly better than the Battlefronts, and yeah, it is. I think it is worth supporting. I love Respawn, and I think they did a good job overall. So yeah, you haven't played that yet, have you?
No, I've played it, but I don't own it. I've played the first like 2 or 3 hours, 2 hours.
Oh yes, I think we talked about this.
It's cool. I do like it. It's not really my kind of game. Like, I'm not a massive Dark Souls fan, and like the very brutal one-on-one combat style fighting is it's not really my cup of tea. But I like the more Uncharted aspects of it. It definitely has a bit of Uncharted about it that I do enjoy.
Yeah, I played it on like just the second like lowest difficulty because I just wanted to get through the story, and I feel like that is something that you should consider just breezing through it, because the story's good and it gives you those accessibility options. There is just a thing called story mode if you want to breeze through the story, and I played on it on that level a bit. No shame about it. I really like those accessibility options. I think that's a really good thing, and more games should try that type of thing out, I think. In at number 4, I've got Kingdom Hearts 3, and this kind of surprised me because I don't have a great attachment to Kingdom Hearts, but I did loosely follow the story. I had to watch a couple of like YouTube catch-up videos to fully wrap my head around some of the smaller things I'd missed in the spin-offs. But for me, you know, it hit all the right notes. It was a satisfactory conclusion to the story they've been telling. But I think what carried it for me were the Disney worlds themselves. I thought they were so fun to explore, so well realized. It was, you know, just a little bit of good old-fashioned Disney magic for me. I feel like the cutscenes hit and miss sometimes, a bit silly, but the worlds themselves were so well done, particularly like the Toy Story level in particular, I think is really well done. That reminded me of playing like Toy Story on the PlayStation as a kid. I became a child as I played that. I was just freaking out, really excited playing that. I remember I played it having, you know, come back from Disney World like a few months earlier, and I was having like the Disney World withdrawal symptoms, as you do, and playing that made me feel like I was back in Disney World. Like, it evoked that same feeling of childlike magic. The level of detail and the extent that they've gone through to realize some of those levels is so good, so solid. It made me feel something, you know. It melted my cold heart a little bit. So I enjoyed Kingdom Hearts 3. Maybe I'm not as attached to it as some people, but I just thought it was a solid ass game. And
you just like the Disney worlds,
kinda, yeah. But also I did appreciate the plot in some respects, mostly later on. But
I do know Hurt.
Yeah. In at number 3, I've got Astral Chain.
Oh, that surprises me. I thought I'd be your number 1.
No. Well, this is another awesome game from Platinum. What really surprised me, though, is how good the exploration is. Like, I really like the detective stuff where you're doing little side quests in the hub world type things, the areas. I like how open it is. I liked wandering around and doing the little tasks for the civilians and going into the portals and scooping up the red matter and finding new things with your Legionis. Like, all that stuff works really well. And it's surprising to find a Platinum game where the stuff outside of the combat is actually really solid as well. The combat honestly took me a little while to get used to, but it grew on me. And I feel like it's one of those ones like the Wonderful 101. If you put some time into it and you develop your own style and you fiddle about with the RPG options a little bit, it can be really satisfying. But I think for me, what carried it was a lot of the characters, a lot of those interactions. The writing is very, very funny. Some of the scenarios you're in, but yeah, the characters are just super endearing. I really like Hal and Marie and Lappy and all that stuff. It's very, very anime, but in a good way. And the plot was, I would say, yeah, surprisingly pretty good. And it had some themes that I enjoyed. So it's nice to play a Platinum game where not only is the combat great, but everything around it is, it has all these this added stuff on, and it doesn't feel extraneous. It doesn't feel like padding. It's genuinely quite fun. And yeah, the worlds, the world building, some of it I think is really nice. I really enjoy that stuff. So yeah, Astral Chain at number 3. At number 2 is Resident Evil 2, the remake, which I really loved. I'm a bit of a Resident Evil fan, but some of the games haven't clicked with me recently. I didn't like 4 or 5. No, I didn't like 5 or 6. I love 4. I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it is great. It is super polished. The gameplay is really tight. Honestly, I'm not really sure that much needs to be said about this game because so many people have heaped praise upon it, and rightly so. I think that the way it builds tension is really nicely done. Wandering around the police station while Mr. X is chasing you, that's fucking nerve-wracking, as we've talked about. But also the characters and the writing is great as well. I really like the chemistry between Ada and Leon. That stuff's really fun. It's just a super polished Resident Evil game, and I feel like
did you play it? Leon first or Claire first?
I did Leon first, and I don't regret that. I didn't enjoy one particularly more than the other. Well, maybe Leon slightly more because it had more of Ada and I like her. But yeah, all that stuff, really great. It's just a really fantastically polished horror game. I like, by the way, that the zombies pose an actual threat to you in this game. They're not just...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They're not just kind of cannon fodder as they can be in some of these games. And
yeah, like, this is like the first third-person Resident Evil where, yeah, the zombies actually feel like a threat. Because even in, like, Resident Evil 4, they weren't really a threat because you could fucking roundhouse kick them.
Yeah, and I really like, honestly, the sort of dearth of ammo and supplies and how you have to manage that stuff on a micro level very carefully. Because you get such little ammunition. You have to make each bullet count. As a survival game, it's just spot on. All that stuff is really great. I think it's gotta be one of the best Resident Evil games ever.
Yeah, I agree.
But my number one, and this kind of surprised me, is Fire Emblem Three Houses, which we're recording this a little while after the Smash Brothers Direct announcement. There's a lot of kind of negativity about Fire Emblem right now, but that hasn't made me lose sight of how much I love this game because I just absolutely lost myself in it. It is a fantastic strategy game filled with things to do, and all of that kind of extra secondary, tertiary stuff, it all feeds back into that core battle system. It all feels like it's worth doing. And I had so much fun just exploring in the monastery, getting to know all the characters, watching the support cutscenes. The writing, I feel like, is the best it's ever been in Fire Emblem, and it puts other Nintendo games to shame, frankly. Like the voice acting, the dialogue, it's on another level, and it's actually refreshingly risque with some of the things it puts in there. There's a little bit of like sexuality to it that's kind of cool to see Nintendo allow that type of thing. It's not afraid to tackle some adult themes, and I think it does so surprisingly well. It does so with maturity and grace, and I played so much of this. The battles are great, the writing is great, the storytelling is surprisingly gutsy, and the game isn't afraid to majorly shake things up and upend the tea table, fuck with the status quo when it wants to, and do some really crazy stuff. So yeah, I enjoyed this game so much, and I want to go back and do more of it. The DLC looks cool.
What house did you pick?
I picked Edelgard, and I don't particularly... I can't remember which one that is. It's the red one. I don't remember the name of the house, because actually once you pick the name of the house, it's hardly brought up again. Like, I remember the character more than I do the house, and that's kind of, again, a testament how good the game is. You remember the characters. You remember Bernadetta and Edelgard and all the different characters in the game, and it's rare for me, honestly, to get attached to characters in a video game, but it happened here, and I was surprised with some of the turns they took, and, you know, whichever house you choose, you're probably going to get some solidly written story out of it. That's the only house I've played so far, but I do kind of want to go back and play more of it because it was that good, and I put probably 50 or so hours into it, 50, 60, something like that. I could go for round 2 or 3, and maybe this DLC too, because that is how good it is. I don't think you played this, Dan, but it is genuinely worth playing, and I say that as someone who isn't always crazy about big RPGs like this. It really did it for me.
Oh, fair enough. I'm not a big Fire Emblem guy, but everything about this game does look really fucking good.
Oh yeah, it's just excellent. And the presentation, by the way, is so good. I like the art style and the music. Yeah. It's surprising how much voice acting there is in it, given that it's such a big game. No excuses, Pokemon. Look at what Fire Emblem and Dragon Quest are doing. If they can do this amount of voice acting, then there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to.
Wait, so yeah, Pokemon didn't make your top 10 at all. That's shocking.
Yeah, here's the thing. I did like it. I have actually went back to it a little bit and done some raids and stuff, and it's a fun game. I did play other games this year that aren't on this list, like Sayonara Wild Hearts isn't on the list, but I did play quite a lot this year, and I nearly put Pokemon on it, but yeah, there's just other games that I preferred, and it's not a slight against them at all. It's just, yeah, these are my favorite games of the year, and maybe I'll play some more stuff after this, and it'll slip on here. Like, I've played bits of Control, and I kind of liked it. It didn't really, like, amaze me like it has other people. I'm maybe a few hours into it, and it did a couple of things I didn't really care for. These are the games I finished, and I was settled upon it. Like, I love them.
Yeah.
I wonder, did the flow of time bring you here?